Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code CHAMPION and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, and the best daily promotions in the business. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. Remember to use code CHAMPION and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with the king of sportsbooks today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only, Virginia only. New customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Promotional offer not available in Washington, D.C.
This is Holly Fry from Stuff You Missed in History class. Venture out in a spacious and reliable Toyota SUV. Like a RAV4, with available all-wheel drive and plenty of cargo space, you'll go from errands to adventures in no time. Plus, available features like wireless charging will keep you connected. Or check out a Highlander with seating for up to 8. It's a hub for family adventure. Your Toyota dealer is getting new vehicles in stock almost every day. So don't wait. Find deals on a RAV4 or Highlander at buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
You're listening to 100 Words or Less with Ray Harkins.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of this podcast where we talk to people who are just in the thick of it when it comes to punk, hardcore, indie rock, emo, metal, whatever you want to call it, as long as it's of the independent-minded variety and it's in small, sweaty rooms at a certain point. That is what we care about. I love building context around these humans, showing you all sides of why it is that they do what they do, why they care about it, why they contributed to it, why they still contribute to it, context, all of those beautiful things that, sometimes the internet just straight up misses. And these conversations hopefully will fill in a broader picture of this person and a more specific picture of this person. And I am absolutely thrilled to have this discussion today with John Coyle, the vocalist from Outspoken. He also played in Kill the Messenger. He also played in Shiners Club, which was Dan Mahoney from No for an Answer's band over the past couple of years. John is a very, very cool dude. And I actually had him over at my house. We had a discussion in my office. It was great. And, don't mind, there's a few points during this conversation where my dogs decided to, break into the room, as it were, and, participate a little bit, maybe have a little fight in the background. Nothing, too distracting, as it were. But I was just like, oh, well, I guess I could edit that out, but I'm not going to because, it's funny. It's funny to hear dogs growl at each other in the background just a little bit. But anyways, Outspoken was huge for me. More on that in a moment, but let's talk about the ways that you can support the show for absolutely free. You can email the show, 100wordspodcast@gmail.com. I love to receive emails and pitches and ideas and just general correspondence. I love to have that feedback because podcasting, it's a weird medium. It's a little bit isolating, as it were. You just put out these episodes and then maybe some people respond to you. Maybe no one responds to you. It's just kind of there. So I love to have that feedback. You can also leave a rating and review on the Apple Podcast page. That helps out tremendously as far as discoverability. And then you can do the same thing, except just a rating on the Spotify page. Those are the places where you could support the show for absolutely free, $0. And then also your advertisements, right? In this particular show, support the advertisers. That way it's a very nice circuitous marketing circle that happens where it's like, hey, the advertisers, see that people react to ads and then, they support the show in that particular way. So anyways, all of that to say, John Coyle came over to the house. This was actually a week or so before the Outspoken reunion at a program skate shop here in the Southern California area at, I want to say, oh man, it was probably 7 or 8 years since Outspoken had played, maybe a little bit longer, but it was an incredibly awesome show. I loved to be able to watch them play, and they crushed it. Like, I just really like bands that come back and don't mess around. They're like, we practiced, we made sure that we sounded good, because, there's times where you see bands, you're just like, wait a minute, like maybe you guys didn't need to come back. Maybe you didn't sound that good this time through, whereas maybe the first time I saw you, it was absolutely incredible. But anyways, Outspoken brought it, and it was a really, really special moment for me. And I know a lot of people there, because Outspoken was a big band for me. Like, as I started to get into punk and hardcore, and especially starting to open my eyes up to the Southern California scene, as it were, bands like Uniform Choice, Unity, and then Ignite, and building on all of that as I started to get into the entire New Age catalog. Outspoken was very resonant to me, especially the current EP, and I just loved the lyrical content, and just being able to speak about what it was that you were feeling inside, but in an eloquent way, in a very honest and earnest way. And I think that's what resonated with me, and I know a lot of other people. I mean, that's like why Unbroken is one of my favorite bands of all time as well, because they were completely honest and straightforward about their approach to their thoughts and feelings, and then coupling it with music. Boom, there you go. Lethal combo. Anyways, so yeah, let's talk to Mr. John Coyle. But before we go into that, I want to talk to you about my weekly recommendations. I've been doing this every week, and I plan on doing this every week throughout the entirety of 2024. If you are following along on a week-to-week basis, basically recommending new music, whether that's something I discovered recently. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a brand new record. It could be something that I just tripped across, so it's a wide gamut, wide definition. But I will include a link in the show notes to where you can follow along with a weekly playlist. I keep it updated, and it has all the recommendations for that particular year, so you can follow along there. But this week's recommendation is a band called Fires in the Distance, and the record is called Air Not Meant for Us. This is not a hardcore record. This is definitely atmospheric metal record, as it were. Reminds me a lot of bands like, Agalloch and Catatonia. And if those bands are just like completely not registering with you, go ahead and listen to those bands. But it's symphonic in a way that's like not like Cradle of Filth symphonic, but just basically, very long and expansive songs, a lot of different textures going on. But this band just blew me away. I hadn't heard of them before. They put out this record on Prosthetic Records. It came out, I want to say in 2023, and I just fell in love with it. And the record is so unbelievably dense that they actually released a instrumental version of the record, which I love it when bands do that, because they're like, you know what, let's not let these pesky vocals ruin the record. let's go ahead and release this instrumentally as well. But anyways, it's a very special record, and it stuck with me even after the first listen. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be coming back to this one. And I've been living with this record now for about 3 or 4 months, and it has for sure stuck on me. So if you like anything that is akin to bands like that I mentioned previously, listen to it. Or if you are not familiar with those bands at all, just go ahead and dive into this Fires in the Distance record, and the record is called Air Not Meant for Us. But let's go to our discussion with John Coyle from Outspoken, live and in person at my house, and we had a lot of fun. So here is that discussion.
Truthfully, like my first entry point to Outspoken was A Light in the Dark, and I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either. If that helps you.
It does help me, because it was, and I know, every kid experienced this when they obviously have limited funds. They're buying records, most of the time sight unseen. It was like, I remember I mail ordered it from Network Sound. And it was like, I got that, and of course, the disapproval for Standing Law, which I also didn't. I was like, I don't really like this either.
Yeah.
But I spent time with it, and I was like, okay, it grew on me a little bit. And then once the current EP, once I was able to obtain that, I was like, oh, I get this band. Like, cause I was like, I really gravitated towards your lyrics and obviously like the emotional attachment to what you were putting out there. But it was one of those things where it struck me, obviously, after I got into the current EP, where I was like, that period of hardcore specifically was like, not many bands were obviously talking about their emotions.
Yeah.
There was a lot. I mean, there were bands that were doing it, obviously, like, whatever, Endpoint, Unbroken, that sort of stuff. But was it difficult I know it was instinctual for you to like write about your emotions.
Yeah.
But like, was it difficult for you kind of like putting that out there? Because, that's not what most people are doing.
No, what's funny is you made a point about buying records and not having a lot of money. We were making records and we didn't have any money. Right. And I think if you listen to A Light in the Dark, it's the bridge between the Survival 7-inch and the Current.
Yeah.
And it's like, we didn't quite figure it out yet. And then when we hit the Current, like I'm very proud of the Current. Like sure. I remember recording it and going, I can't believe that's my band.
Right. You're like this doesn't suck. This is great.
It's the first time, right? Where I listened to something and was like, okay, this is decent. But when we did A Light in the Dark, that was like, I don't know, the Straight Edge Isn't Cool Anymore shirts. Have you seen those?
Of course.
So we all had to come up with our part of paying for the record. And my boy Sam Velde came up with that design. I was like, I'm going to make a shirt and I'm going to make, I think it was 3 dozen.
Okay.
And it was if I sold them, it was the exact amount of money I needed to record A Light in the Dark.
Oh,
and I was like, so I'm going to make 3 dozen of these. I'll never make them again.
Yep.
And it's just, and I can always laugh because that shirt was made to pay for the recording of the record.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the articulation of the fact that it was like every band member had to contribute their $600 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny because obviously, I mean, most bands that operate off like recording their demos and stuff like that, like the same principle, but just the fact that like you were going in to record your full length, for a record label that obviously, Mike was involved
They were
with.
all in all the guys on the record label were in the band. It's funny because I later heard like Unbroken got paid X amount. And I'm like, I never got a penny. Like, what? Not that I care. It's not, I never did it for that, but it was just kind of a funny, we funded the sales of the Outspoken records and Unbroken, everybody else kind of funded that label for a long time, right?
Of course. It got it started to where it's like, especially too, where it's like of that time, a band getting, even $500 to spend 2 days in the studio. Yeah. Was like, dude, are you kidding me?
No, we had to come up with all our own money. And it was like, I'm like, oh man, I came up with the idea of making the shirts, and then since then they were like a huge hit, and then we've redone them. And
well, I was going to say, you obviously have inspired rip-off shirts. Like
there's
multiple bands.
We were talking about it today. Like there's Running Isn't Cool Anymore, and Paint It Black did a great one.
Yeah,
and we might be ripping it off ourselves for the program show.
Spectacular.
So
there's a great straight edge hardcore band from North Carolina called Magnitude they are a modern hardcore band, but they did an inspiration shirt.
It's the best, worst shirt ever. And it was funny because I actually called Sam because I'm thinking about doing something with it. And I just wanted to get his permission because he came up with it. He was like, make it say Straight Edge Isn't Cool Anymore, and then So What on the back. And I was like,
right.
It's so bad it might be good.
It's
awesome.
It is.
It's I can't take credit for it, but man, it's awesome.
It's that youthful exuberance where it's just like, I know something that you don't know.
Yeah.
And this is cool. And I don't care if you think like, you don't even know. I mean, most of the time, like I remember wearing that shirt to high school, and most people were just like, the only reason they knew straight edge was because I was one of the only straight edge kids at the school.
I remember those days. Yeah.
Right. That idea of being like, I know what's up. And it's like, I don't care if you don't think it's cool.
Well, it's like back in the day, you saw a guy in a Uniform Choice shirt, you were just instantly friends because it was like subgenre.
Yeah.
And, you go to Fenders and they were like the bottom 2 or 3 bands. And it was like, you knew that guy knew what was up.
Right. Yeah.
Instantly knew like that. That's a good dude right there. Right?
Of course. Yeah. We can obviously be friends immediately.
Yeah. So then The Light in the Dark. And I think a big reason the record is terrible is we found the cheapest studio we could.
Sure.
Mike's like, I got the place, and it was in a guy's house.
Yep.
And the guy had never heard hardcore before, which nowadays, like you go see Paul Miner and he makes everyone sound awesome.
Yep.
Paul is the greatest. And back then you'd go in studios and people were like, what is this? And we recorded all the music literally in his living room.
Right.
And his little daughter would come home and his wife would walk in with groceries. I think I helped carry groceries in a few times while we're recording the record. And then it was time for me to sing. And there's a microphone in the middle of a big living room and the kids over there and the moms over there. And they start playing it. And I start screaming. And the guy like looks at them and tells them to get a new singer. Like, this is terrible. And it's like,
did you guys invite this guy here?
Yeah. So then we had to go get I forget, like Use It Today or Underdog Records, whatever it was we had, and play it for him and go, this is what, and he's like, oh, but still didn't get it.
No.
Where if we were to record Light in the Dark at Paul's or somewhere where the people understood it, I'm not going to say it'd be that much greater of a record, but it would have been better than it was.
Oh, absolutely.
It was an uncomfortable environment. It was the guy didn't have and plus singing the whole record in 2 days.
You can't do that.
You can't. You're a singer. You know that, right?
I do.
It just was it was terrible because we were doing very well off the 7-inch. The 7-inch was going great.
Right.
Here comes our album. And it was just such I remember hearing it and being just hugely disappointed.
Sure. But it's like, and I think it's so interesting for people to obviously, younger kids, like anybody under the age of 25, when they go back and listen to 90s hardcore, the fact that a lot of these records obviously sound like garbage cans being thrown in a hallway.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like, there's obviously a charm to that. There's a time and a place for it.
Yeah.
But then there's certain bands that you just are like, certain recordings are like timeless. And it's so hard to be able to articulate. Yes, you can point to the current EP where it's like, you can listen to that now and be like, oh, that was recorded last year.
Yeah.
Like there's enough sonic similarities to what's happening right now. But then, then you could be like, oh yeah, the full length they recorded not that long before that.
There's time and a place, and it was not the time and it was not the place, right?
Yeah. But did you, like, with that, because there was obviously a step forward in regards to just, what you were singing about and like the lyrical component.
Yeah.
The reason I'm harping on that, sort of emotional tangent that you would obviously put into your lyrics is like, people obviously gravitated towards it, but was there ever, not apprehension, but was there like a fear of being like, oh, like obviously like we're not just like singing about being stabbed in the back like 15 times over?
No, it's weird. And especially if you look at the current, I was still living at home when we did Light in the Dark, and I remember being like a little kid, and I remember writing the lyrics to Light in the Dark and getting super excited and calling Dennis at 11:30. I wrote the greatest song ever.
Yeah.
It's funny now, but I was living at home.
Okay.
And when we did the current, I had moved up to San Francisco, and I had gone from a comfortable middle class life in Orange County to San Francisco, and I was living basically in a garage.
Yep.
I moved there to be with Tina, who I met when I was 16, and my family was not happy about me leaving. Gave me $200. I went to San Francisco, got a job, and it's the first time I was away from home, and you experience things different, right?
Yep.
Now I land in San Francisco, and like the LGBTQ thing in San Francisco is huge, and it's cool when you're far from it to have a different opinion. Cool is not the right word, but you have a different opinion of it from a distance, right?
Oh, of course.
Like I had gay friends in high school and stuff. It's all, but then you go there in San Francisco and like,
it's a whole different culture.
It's a different culture. And I was in the hotel business, and I don't know how to say this without it sounding bad, but like dudes would hit on me.
Oh, sure.
And at first it was kind of weird, and I was like, whoa. And then I settled into it and was like, it's a compliment.
Yeah. Like,
and it was this weird change. And it's what I wrote Innocent about, right? It was like, okay, and it was a real life thing happening in real time. And it was like, I was uncomfortable, and it made me uncomfortable that it made me uncomfortable. And then I had to process that. And then I wrote Innocent.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff, same thing. The last song we ever wrote, Spark.
Yeah. Your best song, in my opinion.
I would agree with you.
Okay.
On multiple levels, but lyrically, I was at work and I was working in a hotel downtown, and we got a call on the radio. I was managing like a hotel, like the engineering department. Okay. And I got a call on the radio that the painter fell off the building. Painter was a really good friend of mine. So I go running down the fire stairs, and the fire stair doors open, and there's a body, no head, and his head exploded.
Oh, okay.
He jumped off the building. It wasn't the painter. It was a guy, and he jumped off the building, and his clothes held his body together, but it was like shapeless.
Sure.
And there was a spine and a lower jaw, and then just smelled like a butcher shop. And it was just, and I've never seen anything like that.
No.
And I ran out, and I was standing over it because it was right at the bottom of the fire exit. And I stood there and didn't know how to process it. And then people started yelling, and someone ran and got like a sheet and covered it. And the coroner showed up. And I'll never forget it. This guy drives up in a white coroner van with coroner and black on the side, like in a cartoon, like not real, right?
Right.
And I'm in this little alley standing over this dead body, and this coroner pulls up. The guy's eating a ham sandwich.
Yeah, it's his job. Yeah.
So what I'm saying, like, I'm looking at like a dude whose head exploded. He's eating a ham sandwich. He pulls up, rolls the window down, looks at him, looks at the guy at the seat next to him, and goes, "Look at this guy." Takes a bite of his ham sandwich, throws it on the dashboard, goes in the back. They pull the body bag out. They put gloves on. They pick this just jelly of a person. They dump it in. They walk around, pick anything up the size of a golf ball.
Sure.
Everything else they leave. There's blood. There's brains. There's, you name it.
Everything. Yeah.
Everything. I'm like shell shocked.
Of course.
And, the dude, they throw the body in the bag. They take the gloves off, throw them in the bag with the body, zip it up, throw it in. Probably there 15 minutes, not even 15 minutes. Jumps in the car, picks his ham sandwich up, and just drives off.
Yeah.
And now I'm standing out there, and my boss is like, I'm staring at a piece of brain sitting on the sidewalk.
Right.
And I'm staring at it. In my mind, I'm going, I wonder what memory that is.
Sure.
And my boss at the time walks over and sees me staring at it, steps in it, and like smears it with his shoe. And I'm standing there going like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's your instinct.
And he's like, well, John, you're out here. You can pressure wash the alley. So now I'm washing the dude's like blood and brains and skull fragments and stuff into the, I'm telling you a long-winded story. I apologize.
It's fine.
Into the sewer. And so we find out this guy showed up, went up to the top floor, took his shoes off, stacked his shoes next to each other, took his wallet and his keys, laid it all out like perfect.
Sure.
Climbed over the rail, jumped. And like the next day I was walking through work and my boot was clicking on the tile.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, I stepped in a nail or a screw. I took my boot off as a piece of the dude's skull that had, when I was cleaning it up, stuck in my shoe.
Of course.
And it was the weirdest moment in my life that I can clearly recall and going, holy shit, we're vulnerable.
Sure.
Right? Emotionally and physically vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I was invincible.
Of course. Right. Like you experience.
You're young.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself out there. You've been through enough that, if I get punched in the face, I'm okay. And then you see that.
Right.
And it rocked me.
Oh, sure.
And that's when I wrote Spark.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was about. It was that moment and me processing that moment. And it was just heavy. And it was the first time I started doing it in the current, but being able to go, this is what I want to write about. And it wasn't difficult. It was just like fluid and being able to get the point across exactly the way I wanted.
The framework of the experience built. And then you were able to fill that in. As you were processing, like you said, you're obvious. I mean, I know a lot of people use songs and lyrics to process their emotions and like be either a time capsule or, figuring out whatever it is. Like, you're like, I don't have an answer for this, but this is what I feel.
Yeah. And for me, the music I love the most, like my top 3 records, Black Flag Damaged.
Yeah.
The Rites of Spring LP.
Yep.
And the Embrace record.
Yeah.
Right. What are they singing about? Those 3 are like my That's my musical blueprint. Those 3 records. You could throw Rollins Band Lifetime and probably a few other things in there, but it's pretty funny. I met Brendan, the drummer from Rites of Spring.
Oh,
he
sure.
played in Fugazi too, but Rites of Spring's my thing. We just played with Hammered Holes. And I've been wanting to meet someone from Rites of Spring for so long.
Right.
Dude, he must have seen me coming. Like, he walked out and I started geeking out, and I walked over. I was like, listen.
Yeah.
The greatest thing that our civilization has ever made is the Rites of Spring LP. And I'm not kidding. Like, that is a flawless document.
Oh, yeah.
It's flawless. And back to what you're saying about recordings not being great.
Yeah.
Listen to those records.
Unbelievable.
There's no drums. Like, the recordings are super weird. Timeless.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it was super funny because it's like one of the greatest. It's top 3 records, probably number 2. Greatest thing ever. It's phenomenal. And like, not sure how he was going to respond. And he just looks at me and he goes, it's the best thing I ever did.
Right.
And I'm like, rad. He's like, I've done a lot of stuff. He's like, hands down the best record I ever did. I can't believe.
Yeah.
And so I geeked out, and we talked about recording and stuff. And it was like she's laughing at me because I'm just like, it's the greatest thing ever.
Right.
You got it. Yeah. Better than the time so Brian Baker was like my guitar hero forever. Sure. And Shiners Club played with Dag Nasty, and I made a complete fool of myself.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
If you didn't, you would have regretted it.
No, I have the white SG. Like, I bought that guitar because of Brian Baker when I was a little kid.
Of course.
I used to sit with a Flipside magazine that had a picture of him playing a white SG with my white SG, playing Dag Nasty songs and trying to learn them. Yeah. Like, when I'm like 16.
Of course.
So I still have the guitar. And I'm like, I'm playing with Dag Nasty.
Right.
I'm not going to have Brian Baker sign it.
No.
Right? Because when I was 16, I was like, one day Brian Baker's going to sign this guitar.
Sure.
Dude. I turned into a 14-year-old. It was so embarrassing.
Rockabilia.com is your one-stop shop for all things merch related. Ships from the Midwest here in the United States of America, and they have officially licensed merch from so many bands that anytime I look at their website, it just honestly overwhelms me in a good way, where I'm like, oh cool, Burn Me the Horizon, Sleep Token, and then you got Grateful Dead and Bob Marley and Black Sabbath and Pantera, and the list goes on and on. Trust me in saying that you will find the stuff to buy. But when you are doing that, use this promo code 100 words or less. That gets you 10% off of your entire order. And that's a win-win for you. That basically is like, paying for shipping. And that is an awesome thing. And plus, like I said, this stuff is officially licensed. So that means the bands get paid. All of the official rights holders are just all taken care of. And again, everybody wins in this scenario, including you, because you use that promo code 100 words or less. Go to rockabilia.com, have fun browsing around their site, and shop till you drop, or your heart's content, or whatever other cliche business thing you want to say there. But shout out to rockabilia.com for your continued support. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. In my late teens, early 20s, I was burning the candle at both ends, like playing in a band, going to shows like almost every single night of the week. And I had friends and family being like, yo, you should chill out. Like, you're just not only exhausted, but not giving the best version of yourself to me, to others, to people I was in relationships with. And I wish that someone would have been like, you know what? Hey, you should think about therapy, because I did that later on in life and it helped out tremendously. That is why I love working with BetterHelp. If you are thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is an amazing on-ramp for this. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And if you do not vibe with the therapist for whatever reason, you can switch it at no additional charge. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire and boom, you're off and running. So find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Ray today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Ray.
I think it's what makes punk and hardcore and our subculture so special is because the fact you can have those full circle moments, because like it's very rare where a person that is inspired by a band can have that moment where it's like, oh, I can like literally talk to you. I can share all of these things, whether you wanted it or not.
Yeah.
But can you sign my guitar? And like, that's such a.
I wish I sounded that cool.
No, I know.
There was no part of me. I was 14 and I was like, hey, Brian, could you sign my guitar?
Yeah.
And it was just the dumbest thing of all time, but I couldn't help it. Like it's a 16-year-old dream. And then I went and saw him the following night, and I brought my daughter, and I went over and I was like, hey, Brian, I told my daughter, I'm like, this is the reason your dad plays guitar. Right. This guy right here. And he looks at my daughter and he goes, your dad was such a dork yesterday. Yeah. And I was like, come on.
Absolutely. Nailed it.
Did you have to do that to me? But
yeah, you're like, that's perfect.
Anyway.
So when you were, I mean, I like glossing over some biographical information, just regard, I mean, I know you're born in Huntington Beach, like, and you have older brother?
Older brother.
Okay. And is any other siblings or
no?
Okay.
Just older brother.
And so you're obviously the baby of the bunch. So you get it. You get away with murder, I presume?
We won't, let's not get into that.
No, it's fine.
But no, I didn't get away with anything.
Yeah. Understood. And so, and I know your exposure to like, you know, broadly speaking, punk and hardcore was like Sex Pistols, Neighbor introduced you. Stuff. What, like, you know, as you were getting into it, like what spoke to you? Because I mean, obviously there's a big leap from hearing stuff that's played in the radio to something that is like, oh my, like, what is this? I can't even really compute. Like what drew you towards it?
I was a very angry, frustrated young person.
Sure.
And it poked the right buttons.
Okay.
Right? So for me, it was like a somewhat of a release and what's the word? It justified those feelings. It like not justified, it amplified them and told me that it was okay.
Right.
It's like listening to the Smiths, right? You're not going to be depressed listening to the Smiths, but it feels good.
Totally.
So if you're angry and there's music that is angry, it is fuel to that fire. And I got a lot of fights growing up, and I was terrified a lot. And it was my kind of strength.
Sure.
In many, many ways. Like, you know, to put it this way, what's one of the hardest things when you're a kid is your first day of high school.
Sure.
Right? It's the hardest time in your life is that first day of high school. So the night before my first day of high school, they did a freshman dance at the school gym.
What an awful idea.
Well, so that everyone could go and meet each other. So that first day of school wasn't awkward, right?
Sure.
There's been summer. First day of high school won't be awkward. We're all going to meet in the gym.
Yeah.
And someone had the great idea of we should have the football team there and they can cheer everybody on. Well, I was a little punk rock kid and I played football growing up, and I didn't play football anymore. And the football team hated me. Sure. And they were having a school dance, and a friend of mine, I'm getting ready to leave, and he goes, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to the school dance." He's like, "You won't last 5 minutes." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I started high school tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. He's like, "I'll give you a ride on my handlebars," because I live by Edison, right?
Okay.
And gives me a ride on his bike. He goes, "I'll be right here." I wasn't in this dance for 5 minutes, and the captain of the football team walked up and spit on me, and I got in a huge fight. Walk out, and he's like, "Told you." Jump on his bike. We go home. I'm upstairs telling my brother, "Oh my God, I just got a fight," whatever. And my dad comes up and goes, "What did you do?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Go look out your window." Half the school was on my front lawn. They came to my house. That was my first day before high school.
That's great.
And so
you're really excited.
You can imagine how that was. And so then that created this thing. Eventually it backed off, but it's funny. We just played with Scream, and I was telling Franz, it's like, I used to walk a little yellow Walkman. I don't know if that's after your time. You're much younger, but I used to literally walk to school and listen to the song Walking by myself, constant repeat. And I'd be shaking, nervous going to school.
Sure.
And that song would literally get me to school.
Yeah. That was the courage you needed. Because you were like, I am not alone, because someone else has felt like this.
Yes, it was right. And that's the power to me of punk rock and hardcore. And I don't know. You just don't. I love Duran Duran, but you don't get that from Duran Duran,
No.
right? I want to put a Speedo on and go on a yacht to Rio or whatever, but I don't.
Course.
It doesn't make me feel. I don't actually want to do that, but it empowers us. And it gives us a strength we may not have when we need it.
Right. And I imagine like the path for you, I mean, because, uniform choice and like everything that was happening around that time, I know that was very important to you.
Yeah.
How did you, I guess, take that next step to like get into the more, DIY punk and hardcore? Was it like just kind of around and you observed it, or?
We started, the first show I ever went to, I was really young, was Susie and the Banshees and Social Distortion.
Amazing.
It was awesome.
Yep.
And I was really young and didn't really know what was going on. And I just remember going, this is where I belong.
Okay.
And then, we would go to Fenders and saw Uniform Choice. And then someone was like, this guy, Jeff Boetto, he was in Half Off for a while.
Okay.
I did a band called Straight Arm with him when I was 15 or something. And he was like, hey, there's this band called Instead. And so the first time I saw Instead was in a backyard in Anaheim.
Of course.
And like they're sitting on their amps and it was like a jock party.
Okay.
And I was like, this is awesome.
Right.
And I got the demo, right? They were accessible.
Right. They were right there.
They were right there. I could hang out with them. When I saw them, I could talk to them. Every time they saw me, hey, John. And you'd go see them play. Now you're part of that tribe. And then you're part of the Uniform Choice tribe.
Sure.
And then I knew a guy that went to school with Pat. And I started going to Pat's house. And, I was just a nerdy kid that would walk up and knock on his door and go, can I buy a t-shirt? And then he would invite me in. And they had they had their printing press in the back and they had a closet just full of UC stuff. Like I had the white sweatpants.
Amazing.
I had it. If they had it, they gave me like a whole stack of posters. My whole wall in my room was all Uniform Choice posters.
That's amazing.
Like just obsessed.
Sure.
But it was accessible.
Right.
And that makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, it totally does.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it was just right there. And then you go to the shows and they give you a high five and it's like a different, there's nothing else like that.
No.
What else is like that?
It is, not only is it inspiring, but like you said, it's accessible to where they're real people. That are just, they happen, it's like, they're going to we'll go surfing and then, they're going to play a show and I'm going to watch them and I'm going to sing along. It'll be great. And that doesn't that is a very rare occurrence to happen. Just obviously with other genres of music. So there's so many steps, to watch whatever a band like Metallica, even though they obviously came from very similar roots to what we did.
Yeah.
It's still so hard. Watching them now would be like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
I'm never going to be in an arena. It's like,
no,
not.
No. And I'm not, going to sing about Frankensteins and have shrinks at my
right.
band practice either and have a nerdy kid cutting and pasting our songs together.
Yeah.
I just lose all of it's just so lost on me.
Totally.
And I'm one of those people, I like doing the work. The Outspoken, us playing these shows is hard because I'd just rather go write new songs. I just always write. And I'm always doing some band, whether anyone hears it or they don't. I like writing new material.
Right.
And
that, I'll hit that a little bit later, but the idea, especially I'm 43 years old. So it was I started to get into punk and hardcore mid 90s. So it was just right after, you guys and Unbroken, everybody stopped playing. And I know everybody always feels that where I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I got into it a year or two before. I just missed all the bands or whatever. Yeah. But I got a Uniform Choice as well.
Yeah.
But I always it was so interesting for me to watch that just from a little distance of being dude, hardcore in the early 90s, relatively speaking, in Southern California in the late 80s was so big.
it was something else.
Right. And so it's did you feel, I guess, that momentum, as you started to see Uniform Choice grow, or what did it feel like to be?
Well, it was weird because the hardcore stuff and the stuff that all of us were doing, we'd go to Fenders and there'd be a million people and we'd go see Poison Idea and Uniform Choice would play and it was killer. And we were all starting our little bands and we'd practice at my dad's machine shop. And we couldn't get booked at Fenders. So we would book practice places.
Sure.
And we would do our own shows, like the Chance Strength photos, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So for us, that was just us hanging out with our friends, that was like as cool as it got.
Right.
And we never thought it would ever do anything beyond that. Then you look even further down the road, and I think about, what Outspoken did. And then you look at a band like Have Heart.
Oh,
and I don't know, the last time they played in LA, like my head exploded. And it was at the Belasco, I think.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah. I did
Okay.
go to one of those.
So it was people from the front all the way into the lobby to the door, and everyone was losing their shit.
Yeah.
And I sent Pat an email after. I was like, everyone, all the old dudes all brag about seeing Minor Threat. And I was like, fuck that. I saw Have Heart and you fucking floored me.
Yeah.
It was, I stood and got chills. It's just unbelievable to have ever been a small part in building what that became.
Oh, of course.
Right? Like Outspoken never did anything like that. Not even close.
Sure.
We had those big DC shows, but it was not that.
No.
That was a movement. And that Pat Flynn, I think, is probably the greatest front man. To me, he's incredible, right? Fiddlehead's incredible. Everything he does is incredible.
Yep.
He has that rare quality of you feel what he's singing.
Oh, of course.
That dude believes it.
Yep.
And now I believe it.
Of course.
And
very consistent.
Yeah. And there's not an ego behind it.
Mm-mm.
And there's not a posture behind it. And there's not, I'm going to write this song because it's cool. To me, it's like 100% pure, and it comes through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just blown away by it. Like we went and saw Fiddlehead a while back. It's just like, just stop writing music. These guys are incredible.
Evilgreed.net is one of my favorite websites out there because they are an amazing web store solution provider for record labels and bands. But more importantly, you as the consumer benefit because you can shop all at one place and get it shipped directly to your door. The company is based in Berlin, Germany, but trust me in saying the shipping rates to us here in the United States are completely in our favor because that whole exchange rate thing. So don't be afraid in ordering from evilgreed.net. Let me just list some of the bands that they work with because they have a very specific point of view. They are not just like opening the doors to every single band and record label. They're like, yo, if you got something like heavy, artistic, something that is in that ecosystem, which if you're listening to this show, you are completely leaned in. You're like, okay, tell me more. So how about like some of the new HopeCon stuff? Like they've got, shirts on pre-order, the new EP, the new full length that's coming out. Or how about Deaf Heaven? How about Tsunami? How about Scowl? Like those are some of the bands they work with, but they also work with Triple B and Sargent House and Other People Records. The list could go on and on. But like I said, it's heavy, it's artistic. They definitely have a specific point of view. So go to evilgreed.net, shop, poke around, and you will be able to see all of the cool things that you'll just be like, you know what? I wish I had like infinite money to be able to buy this from. And actually, you know what? It reminds me very much of the way that I felt about ordering from the Very Distribution catalog or the Victory Records catalog back in the 90s. I would just be like, oh my gosh, I wish I had like, just infinite money. And I would order all of these records and all of these shirts and all of these, sweaters in order for me to just, bask in the awesomeness. So anyways, go to evilgreed.net, shop till you drop or your heart's content, whatever, stupid saying that you put in there. But anyways, evilgreed.net.
Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code CHAMPION and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, and the best daily promotions in the business. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. Remember to use code CHAMPION and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with the king of sportsbooks today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only, Virginia only. New customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Promotional offer not available in Washington, D.C.
Through the different iterations of Outspoken in regards to like, you guys never officially, broke up. Like you just, you played shows here and there.
Yeah.
It might be between 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
But like you as a person, like you were just talking about, you're not nostalgic.
No.
And like but you have a reverence for what you've obviously done in the past.
I'm proud of it. Like the problem I had with Outspoken and the problem I had with trying to do any kind of reunion was I remember being 17 and writing those lyrics. And I remember writing the guitar riff, writing A Light in the Dark, and calling Dennis. Like Dennis would just get these phone calls from me at midnight. Dude, I wrote the song, check it out. And I'd throw the phone down, I have my little Gorilla practice amp, and I'd play it. And he probably couldn't even hear it.
Sure.
And his dad's yelling at him in the back because I called him on a landline at 12:30 because cell phones didn't exist because we're old. Sure. And he's yelling because I'm calling him so late. And Dennis was like mad at me. I'm like, dude, you have to hear this. And Dennis is just the greatest sport of all time. Okay, play it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. And he'd hang up, and I'd be like, but I describe it as lightning in a bottle. Sure. It caught me at the right age. I was super idealistic, and I truly, truly believed and felt that we were doing something that was changing the world. Mm-hmm. Like that sounds, I don't mean it in an arrogant way, but it's that time of your life,
of course,
where you're invulnerable. Like you're doing something important. It's before you get older and get a little jaded.
Sure.
And you realize maybe it's just a record and it doesn't really matter. And so it's so precious to me that the last thing I wanted to do was cheapen it.
Sure.
And ruin it. And then I started realizing, especially lately, is I run into a lot of people that I admire, and I'll talk to them and they'll turn around and be like, dude, Outspoken was great. You know?
Yeah.
And then I stop and I'm like, you know what it was? I'm really proud of it. And I suddenly realized it's not just about me and Mike and Dennis and Jay and Travis and Hampton and the people that played in the band. It like kind of belongs to everybody. And we all get older and life gets challenging, and why can't we all just come together and appreciate it? Because it seems like when I talk to people, some people want that. And I never thought about it.
Sure.
And then I went, you know what? I kind of need it too. Right?
Right.
I kind of need it too. I need to sing Spark because now I'm older.
Sure.
And I have a job and a family, and I've been through a lot of shit. And I need the song as much as I need to sing it for someone else.
Totally.
And I need to be part of this. Not for ego, not for anything else, but to bring all those people together that it belongs to.
Sure.
That it means something to.
Right. So you got over yourself.
No, I honestly just didn't want to fuck it up.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You know what I mean?
There's obviously a fine line to walk between, just being that band that, is just whatever, playing the hits, doing this, like you become a character of yourself, and you don't want to walk into, cliche forest or whatever.
Yeah.
But that idea that you're just like, I want to participate in something that obviously people were either too young because they never were able to see you.
Yeah.
And like just being able to inject that spirit into whatever era of the band that you wanted to.
I realized I just did an interview with No Echo, and it was literally a phone call with someone. He's like, dude, that Outspoken, whatever, the current, means so much to me. And I just blurted out, means a lot to me too. Yeah. And it was like a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
It was like a holy shit, I need this too.
Right.
I need it too. Not ego, not anything else. I emotionally need it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to join with my people.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I have an ego, but I think I want to be part of it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not about me. It's about everyone.
Yeah,
and I want to be part of that.
Totally understand. When you first started to tour, like, obviously you're touring in the, early 90s. And you first started, this first Outspoken 7-inch is where you actually started to get out of the state. And like that.
Ford Taurus.
Right. Did you like touring?
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's you've done a fair amount of touring, right?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
For the most part, yes. There's obviously moments where you're just like, what am I even doing with my life?
Yeah.
Like, you're crying in the bathroom because you're playing in front of like 10 people in Montreal. Maybe I'm getting a little specific here.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But
Sounds deep.
Yeah. But I mean, you overall, but then like you don't, I mean, I think as you start to tour when you're younger, like you obviously don't have any perspective.
Dude, it's summer camp.
Right. It's adventure. It's all those things.
I'm out with my friends.
Right.
There's no rules.
Yep.
And, it to me, it's like one of the most free things ever. Like I just did a European tour, I don't know, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And unfortunately, I don't care if there's 10 people there. I love playing music.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. I'm the guy that likes to go to band practice.
Sure.
I'm like the first to raise his hand, like, let's have band practice. Come over. We'll just jam all day.
Right.
I love that.
Okay.
So it's like, I just love playing. It doesn't matter if there's 2 people or 200. It just,
yeah.
We went to Europe and we played some great shows and we played some not great shows. I could care less.
Right.
I zone out and I'm just stoked.
You're just there.
Yeah.
When you, I mean, talking about the 7-inch, like, is it one of those things where, do you remember like when people outside of your circle of friends, like started to pay attention to you? Cause those moments I know are really.
Yeah. It was super weird. We went on that tour in the Ford Taurus and there was always enough people that were in the know, but we'd go play, like we played with L7 in Seattle and there was like 5 kids there, the guy from Brotherhood and some other people that were into it.
Sure.
And we're like, dude, there was 5 people there that were into us.
That knew who we were beforehand.
We went to Arizona and there was a group of kids in Arizona that knew and they had the demo and it was like, they sang along. Like it was super exciting.
Right.
It was really exciting.
Yeah. Just to have those touch points of being like, it's because I mean, it is special when you're just like, someone is, especially as a singer, like someone is singing along, like you were looking them in the eyes and you're like, I don't even know you. Like, and there's your friends singing along. That's meaningful. But like just that feeling of like someone else outside of my circle knows who we are.
Yeah. And gets it.
Right.
And gets it. Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm not jaded. Like I'm still excited.
Right.
I'm still excited by it.
Right.
I'm still like a little kid when it comes to music. I love writing it, playing it, performing it. Right. And anyone that kind of gets it, like it's exciting to me.
Right. Because I mean, hardcore and punk, broadly speaking, like, I mean, it's a youth culture movement.
Yeah.
And as you get older, it's obviously more difficult to either stay on top of it, stay engaged, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and so, but I mean, you clearly are still like, I mean, you are.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to shows like there's, and like, is the drive, is it just because you're like, well, that's just always going to be who I am? Or do you find yourself like, oh, I gotta stay in touch because that like gives me inspiration?
I don't have a whole lot. I gotta do anything at this point, right? Sure. I just do kind of what I want to do.
Sure.
But again, just goes back to loving music and all kinds of music. And I'm that guy that when something new comes out, I have to hear it.
Okay.
I just want to know what's going on.
Sure.
And I'm not going to say I like all of it because it seems to be a problem, I think, in the hardcore culture now is back in the day, you could say, that record sucks.
Yeah. Not good.
Now everything, like no matter how bad it is, there's it's almost like we're constantly selling, which maybe it's awesome and we're all supporting each other and lifting each other up. But I don't know. It's like you try and tell me that like a pile of shit's a great meal. It's not.
Right. Yeah. You're like,
you know what I mean? Then your credibility's lost. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's I like to listen to as much. I have a long commute, so I use that time and I'm just always kind of listening.
Digging into stuff.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like we just play with Hammered Holes and, Alec McKay, and they did a thing, and it's like, I watched it, and I don't know if you've listened to them or seen them.
I haven't seen them, but I've listened to the record.
I watched them live, and I was like, I was blown away.
Okay.
And it's I was having this conversation and it sounds terrible, but it's like age appropriate hardcore.
Sure. Yeah.
Like
that's totally,
I don't mean that it's not a but there's a lot of old guys that are like jumping around like they're in youth crew bands.
Yep.
And to me, that's like, I don't want to say it's cosplay, but it's like cosplay, right? It's like kind of weird. Then you're going to go to your 9-to-5 job and then you're going to get dressed up on the weekend and go do what you did when you were 16.
Right.
Which I guess I'm about to go do it minus the cosplay part.
Yeah.
But, they went up there and they played super interesting, heavy music, and it was super inspiring, and it wasn't embarrassing. It was, some bands you see and they're old guys and they're trying to be young, and it's like, those guys just went up there and just crushed it.
Right. And it's like you love to see that, because it's like they're taking all of their collective experience
100%.
and being like, this is who we are now.
Yeah.
But like, we still like this stuff. It's just a different version.
But it was incredible, right? It was like, there's no age limit to that.
Yeah.
It's just incredible music. And, we played Zebulon. There's a ton of people there. A ton of people got it.
Right.
It was super, super impressive.
Right.
And I told Alec that Subject to Change was like the bridge for music, right? It went from like the punk rock stuff in DC, Subject to Change hit, and then everyone's like, oh, we can broaden our horizons. And then you start getting Rites of Spring and all that other stuff.
Right. We can listen to other things.
And he was like, he was so cool and so gracious.
Yeah.
And I was just nerding out, which.
Of course. Which seems to be a theme. Yeah.
It is. And it's funny. It's like Tina sits there and looks at me and I'm like, you don't understand. Like, these people are like heroes to me.
Of course.
Right. And if
you're not literally right here.
Yeah. And if you didn't, like, I don't know, I'm looking at your big wall of records.
Yep.
And there's records in there that saved you.
Absolutely.
Right. And there's people that, like, you sing in a band or sang in a band because you were inspired by somebody, and that gave you amazing experiences in your life.
We're all standing on the shoulders of giants.
You got it. And all of that stuff, like, those people that made you do that, they changed your life.
Absolutely.
And
most of them will have no clue.
No.
And that's what's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and it's also not, but I'm also the dork that, like, I meet these people and I have to, like, tell them.
Oh, absolutely.
And it never goes well.
No.
Ever.
Well, you start to develop at least a way to approach it where it's just like, okay, like, I know you've heard this before.
Yeah. How do you?
But here you go. I'm going to be one of, the many people that have approached you about this. And it's like, you lay it out and you're just like, all right, I got that out of my system.
Yeah.
Like, now we can hopefully be friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Capacity. Well, then you realize, I'm not going to be this guy's friend. He does not give two shits about me, but I have to tell him,
of course,
how important
what
they did was for me.
Right.
Because back to when I was growing up, those records were my sanity. Those records told me I was okay.
Right.
When I didn't feel like I was okay. And when I didn't have a place to fit.
Sure.
Right.
And hitting on that, where when you started to, get into all of this as far as subculture, straight edge and everything, like, I'm guessing that your parents, like, were they alarmed? Were they like, what the hell is John getting into? Were they like, oh, this is straight edge, like, he's not going to turn like?
No, so my whole entry into straight edge is, I think I was 14 and my mom was having a big birthday party and people flew in and, like, all these people came to our house. Okay. And we had a pool table and I was up there playing pool with my what would he be? My uncle.
Okay.
And he's like, real pool players drink whiskey. And so he starts giving me, like, whiskey. And I'm like, right on. I start drinking. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just pounding whiskey. And the next thing I remember, I woke up in my bed and my room was, like, covered in vomit. My entire face hurt.
Yeah.
And apparently I blacked out. I fell down my stairs. Everyone thought I was just hamming it up and being funny.
Yeah.
Because I was always trying to keep everyone happy. And I fell down the stairs and crawled in the bathroom and passed out. And they found me. And that was it. Like, I woke up the next morning and my room was just covered in, like, syrupy vomit. And I went downstairs. My parents were sitting on the couch and, they looked at me and they're like, we're not going to punish you. You've been punished enough.
Right.
And I never drank after that.
Yeah.
100 years. Like, I drink now, but not really. Like, a glass of wine or something. But forever. That was how I got into straight edge, and I was into punk rock.
Right.
And then when you're straight edge into punk rock and suddenly there's Uniform Choice.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm the most straight edge dude of all time now. And then I'll never forget when Youth of Today came out on the Break Down the Walls tour. because you go to Fenders and 7 seconds would play, be awesome. But it was just, Poison Idea or whatever punk band was playing, but straight edge was like a small subset.
Sure.
At that time. Right. And, I remember when Youth of the Day came out and did the Break Down the Walls tour with Richie on second guitar, which was just incredible. It changed. Like all of a sudden, like it flipped.
Sure.
Like Uniform Choice I always say it, they did all the fighting to give it a space.
Yeah.
Straight edge of space. And then Youth of the Day came and just was like, fuck you, we're here.
Right.
Now it's a real thing.
Nationally recognized.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Like just changed everything. And then in many ways, following that, the shows were no longer so diverse, and you wouldn't have instead playing with MIA or whatever other punk band. It was Chain of Strength, No for an Answer.
Yep.
Instead,
right.
Uniform Choice. It was like the shows were just all of a sudden, and they got guys in the back heckling, which no one at Poison Idea is standing in the back and, calling Pig Champion fat. Like,
right.
Someone would kick the shit out of you, right? But
right.
now it's like kind of jockey.
Sure.
And a bunch of kids popping off, and we all felt way too comfortable. And the fear factor went away from it.
Sure.
And in many ways, to me, it kind of made it not as exciting.
Well, obviously it was homogenized.
Yeah. And it's like, I've always liked the punk side of things. Like RKL was a big deal for me.
Sure.
And there was just such a closed-mindedness when it came to, kind of the straight edge scene once it started getting bigger.
Right.
And then just having all those shows, just all straight edge bands was just like kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. There's no diversity coming.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember when I first started going to shows and Ignite would be playing with, Voodoo Glow Skulls or whatever. And it's just like, it was so hard for me to like contextualize all of it, because I was just like, wait, like, I think someone in Ignite is straight edge. Like, you're just, as a kid, you're trying to track these things. And then you're just like, wait, who's Voodoo Glow? Like this ska core band. Like, I don't understand why these bands are playing together, but like, I'm glad to be here.
I'm stoked to be here. I'm witnessing something, right?
Totally. Whatever that may mean.
I'm witnessing something.
Right.
And it's what's funny is it's like, I think about when I used to go to shows, there was a point where you could be successful as a musician, but I was lucky enough to be around when you could not be successful.
Right.
And, at least I don't think Poison Idea wasn't trying to be successful. I keep bringing up Poison Idea, but it's a memorable show for me.
Sure.
But they weren't trying to be successful. There was no idea that they were going to be successful.
There was no career path.
No career path. And most of those bands that played did not have a career path.
Right.
And they were playing because they loved it.
Of course.
And that's a different level of excitement, because even now, a lot of these bands are just like, in their mind, they're like, well, we could make a living at this. And they probably can.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that drive is different than it was. And I'm not trying to say it was better then or better now. It's probably better now for younger people. But I know for me, it was just such a thing that you had to do, as opposed to I'm doing this to be famous or rich or to make money. I'd love to make a living playing music. It's just not going to happen, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, especially that because obviously that time, like, yes, you started to see certain bands, whether it was your Strife, Snapcase, Earth Crisis, like, but obviously that was more towards the, mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
But even then, like, there was no, the bands were quote unquote making a living, but that means they were like touring 10 months out of the year.
You got it.
And coming home being like, I'm going to work at the bagel shop for a couple of weeks before I leave for tour again. But that's not a living. That's just substance.
And when Hard Stance was playing, like, I was in a band and we used to play with Hard Stance all the time. And I remember, like, Zach was always special, right? Inside Out's probably the best Southern California hardcore band, hands down.
Yeah.
Right? They're just incredible.
Yep.
They were incredible live. And like, he's the one out of everyone that I don't want to say makes it, but does something awesome and makes it.
Sure.
Like, none of us were Zach, right?
Right. A very substantial impact from something was just like, oh, like that's.
But you saw it in Hard Stance. You were like, there's something there that the rest of us don't have.
Right.
And then when he did Inside Out, it was just guttural and just real.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. Same thing I was talking about with Pat, where it's like, it was emotional and real, and you felt it, and there wasn't like a pitch behind it. It was just 100% real.
Absolutely.
Those Inside Out shows were incredible.
Yeah, I can only imagine. The, as you, like what you're talking about, the idea of, taking bands and being able to quote unquote make it, like you said, there was no path forward, in which obviously like, you moving to San Francisco and like, the band, essentially dissolving at that point. And like, I'm guessing because of the idea of you, pursuing real life and like obviously doing everything that you started to build with your career.
Yeah.
Like, was there, was it difficult being away from Outspoken and not being like, because most people were just like, oh yeah, John from Outspoken.
I lost all my friends, right?
Okay.
When I moved to San Francisco, we got married. Everyone else was still kind of fucking off.
Sure.
So you lose all your friends.
Sure.
Because now you're the married guy. That's weird.
Yeah.
And I got married at 20. And but it was okay. Like I started another band up there.
Yep.
Tina sang for it. That was really fun. And we used to play this place called Berkeley Square in Berkeley. And like we just go there every weekend, and we had this like, what would you say it sounded like? I don't even remember it. It was like Dag Nasty with girl vocals. It's super fun.
Sure.
And but this guy I know goes, dude, you got to come see this band play. I go. It was the Deftones. Okay. And all they had was a demo.
Sure.
And we went, and I remember my head exploding. Like after a while, like hardcore's hardcore. Mm-hmm. Someone comes in, does something exciting, and it's new, and then everything kind of follows that, right? Like look at Quicksand came out.
Of course.
And it was like incredible.
Right.
And then there were 75,000 bands that sounded like Quicksand.
Of course.
So for me to go somewhere, and these guys came out with dreadlocks and played a heavy music, and I remember thinking like, it's like hip hop bad, like I couldn't process it.
Absolutely.
And I loved it.
Sure.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
Didn't understand it. And it was funny. We'd go see them all the time at this tiny place the size of 2 garages.
Sure. And,
and then they had like the Korn record release party with the Deftones at the same place. And then they blew up and were like huge. And it's awesome because it was so different.
Oh, totally.
And it blew up.
That's why they were on the first Warped Tour.
Yeah. So when I went to San Francisco, certainly occupied my time.
Yep.
Outside of work. Work's always been a big thing for me because I've always had to take care of my family. So outside of work, we had like a musical world there. And then it's about the time where Dennis decided to move to the Bay Area. And I was like, okay, we're doing a band.
Right.
And we did Kill the Messenger.
Sure.
Yeah, which was super fun.
Yeah. And so, I mean, being able to have just the desire to still continue to create and play music, like that was obviously, that was your driving factor as opposed to being like, oh, like no one knows me from John from Outspoken. Now, that's what you were expecting.
I could care less if anyone knows who I am or don't know who I really don't.
Yeah.
I just not compute with me.
Right. Because that was like, and I know that we were speaking off the mic, but it's like that idea of attaching ego to who you are, what you've created, where it's like, that becomes like, even though our scene is such a small microcosm, but it's like when people buy into that ego, they're just like, like I'm the coolest thing around. And it's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I'm
like
not.
400 people showed up.
I'm not cool at all.
Right.
When I'm doing Outspoken, I want Outspoken to be the greatest thing I've done. When I'm doing Shiners Club, I wanted Shiners Club to be the coolest thing I'd ever done. Kill the Messenger, coolest thing I've ever done.
Sure.
Laughing Matter, I want it to be the coolest thing I've ever done, and I worked really hard to do that.
Right.
Coolest thing I've ever done to me.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm one of those dudes, I don't care outside, but when I'm in that studio or I'm writing songs, just care about doing something that's interesting to me.
Right.
If other people appreciate it, awesome.
Right.
I could go write, I don't know. People seem to like Push Aside. I can go write a Push Aside record tomorrow, right?
Sure.
But I don't know. I want to do something that's interesting to me, right?
Right.
Like that's the whole thing. Laughing Matter was like, okay, I want to do something completely different. Sam and I had a big long conversation. It was like, okay, cool. No bar chords. And like I just said, let's say the Johnny Marr thing, right? No bar chords, none of this. Like I set parameters and then wrote songs.
Right.
And it was a challenge for me, and it was super fun and super exciting.
Sure. And so once because you have how many kids? Two. And so, obviously, like when you start to bring children to the world and coming from the perspective of where you came from, just the idea of being like obviously kids are going to be rebellious and push against everything. And like, clearly that was something that is instilled within the punk and hardcore.
Yeah.
So like, how would you say that, DIY punk and hardcore has influenced like your parenting? Like, or if you feel like that is not even a consideration for, the way that you're taking care of your kids?
I don't know. I think when you come from our culture, we think about everything differently.
Sure.
Than like anyone else, right? My daughter's hearing impaired, and she went to, she was in middle school, and she was getting picked on for her hearing aid.
Sure.
And it's like the most punk rock thing ever. And Tina calls me one day and she's like, you got to come home right now. And again, I'm like, I'm not a workaholic, but I have to work to pay the bills and take care of my family, right?
Sure.
I still have that mindset of when I was 20.
Sure.
And I'm like, I can't. She's like, get home now.
Right.
So I go home. My daughter's like bawling her eyes out. And I sit down and I go, she's like, I don't want to have a hearing aid. I'm like, you're going to have a hearing aid. Nothing you can do about it. I hate to tell you that. And she's like crying. And she's like, the kids made fun of me. I'm like, okay. The next time a kid makes fun of you for your hearing aid, you're going to punch them right in the face. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah. She's
like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, no, you can. Because making fun of someone for something like a hearing aid is not acceptable. And I fully back you. And we'll go talk to your principal tomorrow. And I went and talked to the principal, and I told the principal. So what I told my daughter is when she gets made fun of for her hearing aid, she's going to punch the kid right in the face. And then what I want you to do, here's my card. I want you to call me so I can be here when that little brat's parents get here, and the parents can deal with me for raising a little brat, because the little kid got it from the parents.
Sure.
And my daughter's just having a hard time because these kids, their parents watch Housewives of Orange County.
Sure.
And they reenact it, and then their kids turn into little monsters. And we were like, we have to get my daughter out of the school. And we put my daughter in OSHA. And it was right before she went to OSHA, and she goes, and she used to wear hair to cover her ears so you couldn't see her hearing aids.
Okay.
And so right before she went to OSHA, she said, I want to cut all my hair off and dye it blue. I'm like, why do you want to do that? She goes, I'll give them something to talk about. And we took her, she cut her hair all off and dyed her hair blue and went to school. And I was like, that is the coolest, most punk rock thing ever.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm enabling this because, for one, I've seen this at shows. And for two, I know this is going to, this is what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, like, obviously some parents would just be like, oh, absolutely not.
Some parents would be like, listen, get with the program. You're carrying the wrong purse.
Right.
Right? Like, whatever the BS is.
Yeah.
You know? And the same thing when she was sitting there crying, and as a parent, you try really hard and not, like, I'm trying to be strong for her. And I started crying because I felt so bad because there was nothing I could do.
Right.
The minute I started crying, she's like straddling me, like sitting, we're hugging.
Sure.
I start crying, and my daughter leans back. How old was she at the time?
Maybe.
She leans back, sees me crying, and wipes my eyes and tells me, don't worry, Dad. This could be all right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm the parent.
Yeah. You're like, you're wise beyond your years. You're not supposed to do this.
Yeah. Super weird. But I don't know. I think I don't feel responsible for any of those actions of hers.
Sure.
But, you know, you don't get that, I don't think, in a regular household, like a normie household, right? I think that's growing up where we question everything and we don't do things because everyone else does them.
Right.
You kind of set your own rules. It's kind of exciting and free.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you can show that you can obviously be vulnerable as a human regardless of the role you play within your household.
And again, I think that's a big problem with everyone, and we all do it, but you create a persona as opposed to just being a person.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Everyone's got like a shield or they stand behind a pulpit and they want to be right. And then you realize that I'm not right all the time. And the older you get, the less you know, and it's okay.
Sure.
Losing that I have to be right all the time is so freeing.
Yeah, you can just start to peel those layers of artifice away.
100%. And it's something when you're young, you want to be right all the time and you want to argue it and you want to, God, it's exhausting.
Yeah. Well, two last things I want to hit on. One is, this is really random, but obviously you guys were on that, Trustkill comp where you're doing the Embrace cover.
Yeah, that whole comp was a terrible idea, by the way.
But the fact that you can be
I'll tell you why, though. Let me explain why.
Please.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, the fact that you're on a comp with Rancid and it is the most, it's still to this day, like one of the most random things. Like, I love it personally.
Yeah.
But it is so like, you're just like, how did this happen? I know because Josh obviously is a huge, Embrace fan, but yes, tell me your experience with it.
Okay, so I'm the world's biggest Embrace fan.
Yeah.
Since the record came out, loved it.
Yep.
It, to me, it's just like one of the most incredible, the guitar playing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like I just went and saw Fake Names.
Oh, sure.
And Michael Hampton was there and he had like the guitar, like the black SG that was on every record he's ever done. And on the Embrace record. And I was like geeking out over just his guitar.
Right.
Like, but you can't play those songs. Like no one's going to play those songs.
No. Yeah.
Listen to that record and listen to the guitar stuff and tell me what hardcore band is going to play that.
Yeah, no, they're not. It's obviously going to be a pale imitation, but
not even a pale imitation. Like it's not possible.
Yes.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
And I love the idea. I was super stoked when they asked us to do it. And then I just realized, oh my God, hardcore dudes cannot.
Yeah,
play.
we're going to butcher this on. But
100%.
To be fair, as a person who also holds Embrace in reverence, I listened to the comp and for all its warts and all, it's still, not only is it such an interesting time capsule of so many wild bands on the same comp, but it is like, in very no other circumstance would like an Embrace it's just such a weird ass idea.
It's a weird idea. Yeah. It's an awesome idea.
Sure.
But bands executing it at that time was just frightening, right? Like I listened to the Outspoken song, I'm like, what guitar part is that? Like that's not the song.
It was your own.
You can get the bass part and you can get the drum part and you can get the vocals. But listen to that record intently at the guitar and like it just flows like it's almost like one big, it's like incredible.
Right.
Like the amount of times I listen to that and try to rip it off. It's like, it still blows my mind. I just got that record on vinyl for Christmas and it's just like, I put it on. I'm just like, how did this happen? The guitar playing, the songwriting, the guitar playing is phenomenal. So for hardcore kids, it's just too far out of reach.
Understood. Well, it sounds like you consider yourself way more of a guitar player than you do a vocalist.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm way more comfortable playing guitar.
Okay. But I mean, you obviously learned how to do vocals. Like was it scary for you when you first started to get up there and do that?
No, it's funny. We started Pushed Aside and I started that just so I could sing. That was the band I was going to sing for. So I wrote all these songs.
Right.
And I was super excited. Then I got kicked out of my own band. Somehow I still haven't processed it. And then they went and recorded all my songs.
Yep.
Which I'll be honest, it's better that I wasn't part of it. Like I think they crushed it.
Sure.
And Randy was better vocalist for that, and my guitar playing's too poppy for what that became. And I think that demo is freaking amazing because of those guys.
Sure.
But that was like me going, okay, I want to sing for a band.
Okay.
And then Dennis and I started Outspoken, and it was just like the discography is called Spotlight because we were like, here's what we're gonna do.
Right. It was just like you would call it a studio project.
Yeah, we were to him and I were going to write all these songs. We're going to release demos just called Spotlight, not say who it was.
Right.
But all the songs were going to be about the problems in the scene.
Sure.
We're kids.
As one does.
We were kids, right? And we're just like, we'll just piss everybody off and we'll just keep putting these demos out and no one will know who it is.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And we wrote the demo and then all the songs that were on the 7-inch.
Right.
And then Hartsfield called me and was like, dude, let's do a band. And I was like, let me call you back.
Yeah, you're like, hold on.
Yeah.
I have all these secret songs.
Yeah. It's like, called Dennis. I'm like, dude, I got a guy who plays guitar.
Right.
We can turn this into a real band. And I remember Dennis going, no, dude, we got it. This is perfect what we're doing. I'm like, no, we could play shows and stuff.
Right.
And he was like, okay.
Right.
And I was like, Mike, we're doing this band. We've already got all these songs.
Yeah.
And it was, and I don't know. I really like being a frontman.
Yeah.
I like hiding behind. I think I'm a better guitar player than I am a singer.
Okay.
Right. So, and I'm more comfortable playing guitar and I probably enjoy it more, but
sure,
becoming a vocalist was not a hard thing to do.
Sure. And it was a goal, but it wasn't the, identity that you felt most comfortable with. You learned how to be comfortable with.
Yeah. And I was also so used to writing songs and then a lot of vocalists take a really long time to write lyrics. And so I would get impatient because here's the song. Where's the lyrics? Here's the song 6 practices in. Where's the lyrics? Sing. And they just never did. So then I just started writing lyrics. And then that frustration became, okay, well, how come I'm super excited about this and it's taken forever?
Right.
So it was exciting to be able to write the song, write the lyrics and have it happen.
Right. The last thing I wanted to hit on was the idea that, you obviously are always, looking forward in regards to the creation of new music and other people to collaborate with. I mean, it seems like you always, like a lot of these relationships that you've maintained over, many, many years, Sam, everybody else that we're just talking about, it seems like you're always wanting to collaborate with others and bring people in that orbit.
For sure.
Is it like, where does that come from?
Playing with yourself really isn't that much fun, right?
Sure.
If you play an instrument, I mean, I guess it can be, but it's like sitting on a couch playing acoustic guitar is great.
Right.
Sitting in a room and working with other people and learning and trying things and stretching things and doing things I always like bands are pirate ships, right?
Yep.
And it's so killer when you have a band and you guys are all in and you go play a show and you're going to kill it. And
right.
That feeling, and you have something that either no one's heard before or they haven't seen it live or they have and they're into it and you get to go there. And I always feel like no matter what I'm doing, you have to earn it, right? Like if you go play in Europe, if you suck, they tell you suck.
Oh yeah. The German compliment.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys were good, but that third song, don't ever play that again.
Totally.
Fucking terrible.
Right. You look older than last time.
Yes. Yeah. So I always feel like I'm not selling it, but I have to earn it, right? I have to earn someone to want to listen to what I'm doing. It's not like I can just phone that in. It's like, okay, let's back to doing the work.
Right.
Let's do the work.
I'm giving you a reason to show up.
You got it. And I love writing and playing music. I wish I did it more often than I do.
Sure.
Right. And I'm always looking for people that are excited and inspired. And everything I do, to me, sounds relatively different.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, look, it's another hardcore band, or it sounds like Black Flag,
right.
Or it sounds like whatever. I don't even know what Laughing Matter sounds like. So
right. Yeah. It's like there's elements, there's through lines, but it's not, it's not so copy and paste of just like, oh, this sounds exactly like the thing that I did
for sure
a couple of years ago.
And it's not even by design. It's just what I'm into at the time or what I want to do or what, doing Shiners Club was awesome. It was like, I'm going to write this stuff for Dan.
Sure.
And it was writing music. I have to like it, right?
Of course.
But writing music for someone else that fit that person was really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then having it, whether anyone listened to Shiners Club or not, it worked for me. Like, I'm super proud of that record.
Sure. Because it accomplished the goal of setting forth of what you did.
For sure. And it was to me, it's the whole aspect of it. It's, now you sit in the studio and everyone fine tunes everything. It's like we were like the SWAT team. We're going to go every time we wrote 4 songs, we went in the studio, recorded them in 2 days.
Right.
And you go in and you nail it and then you get out. And it was like this SWAT team. And the urgency of making it happen in a brief window, to me, made it exciting. Like all of our favorite records weren't, some of them maybe the newer ones, but all those old punk records weren't made with a massive budget and people having tons of time, right? When we first started recording demos, we went to the studio at 2 in the morning.
Sure.
You know, and got it. And the methed out dude who you just woke up comes down naked to open the door for you to load your gear in.
Right.
There was a place called Spot. We used to record it. It was like that every time. It's a gross carpeted room at 2 in the morning because, you know, that's what we did.
Of course. That was what was attainable for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, John, we did it.
Awesome.
Very much appreciate you doing that.
I appreciate you welcoming me into your beautiful home and your 2 beautiful dogs and letting me take up your Wednesday.
All right, there you go. That was John Coyle, the vocalist for Outspoken, and what a great dude. And shout out to him and his wife for coming over to my house and just hanging out. And his wife was so nice because she just hung out there while we just punished each other for an hour in conversation, and it was great. So anyways, and if you heard my dogs in the background, like, you get it, you know, I try to keep them out of my office, but that's hard when you're talking and your dogs want to see you. So, you know, if you heard a little growls in the background, like, that's just what you got going on. But anyways, listen to Outspoken first and foremost. Like, they are just an incredible band. And if you had never listened to them, let this conversation change your listening habits and listen to Outspoken. So next week is it's a big one because it's the 600th episode, and normally it's like, all right, you mark the 7-8 year anniversary or whatever, but 600 hours of these conversations I've been having over the past, somewhat 10 years of my life. It's wild. But anyways, I got Jeff Rickley from Thursday, who is also a accredited and published author. We talk about that because his book, Someone Who Isn't Me, is incredible. I read that cover to cover and loved what he had put out there. But Jeff's also a longtime friend, and I had never had him on the podcast, and I wanted to change that. So we officially set it up through official channels, and that is what's happening for episode 600 next week. So there we go. Jeff from Thursday, episode 600. And until then, please be safe, everybody.
The show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Trust me in saying that no matter who you are, mental health challenges can affect you, and how you manage them can make all of the difference. That's why everyone should have access to mental health support that meets them where they are and helps them get through. BetterHelp provides online therapy on your schedule. It's flexible, simple to use, and more affordable than in-person therapy. Connect with a licensed therapist selected just for you. Learn more at betterhelp.com. That's betterhelp.com.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
You deserve a moment to yourself every single day. And a delicious bite of a Keebler Sandies can give you that comforting pause. Don't forget to pack the melt-in-your-mouth magic of a Keebler Sandies for a post-lunch pick-me-up. This magic is baked into simple shortbread cookies by Ernie and the Keebler Elves. So as life continues to fly by, make the most of your me moment. Take a pause and enjoy a Keebler Sandies.